tough loss. Missouri's really good. Thought we played really well for 20. Start of the second half, defined the outcome of the game. They scored in the first 7 possessions. We continued to score it somewhat efficiently the rest of the game, but just couldn't establish ourselves defensively again for the rest of the 40 there. Literally starting the first possession of the second half. Not our best defensive performance, but Missouri's really good. Credit those guys. Do a fantastic job. Played well. Hard to guard. Changed up defenses. They got a chance to make a run in March.
Coach, Dakota was held to 0 points tonight, which was rather unusual for him.
Yep.
I know he's coming back from injury. Would you say that hindered him at all tonight, or was it just?
I don't know. I don't know where his pain tolerance is, how much he's hurting. I don't know. He hasn't practiced much. Yeah, but there's so many other ways you can affect a game. We've got to guard and we've got to rebound. And it was actually one of our better offensive SEC games. If you get a few stops, that 74 might be 85. Just couldn't collect stops. Our guards did a poor job overall, helping our bigs rebound the basketball. They had three-point shooters that literally get their own rebound. You don't see that much. So just not a great effort there. That said, again, the positives are that we did some better things offensively. 15-9, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, 15-9, shot over 50% against a really good defense. Only got 10 offensive rebounds, but again, shot a good percentage. But 18 to 3 assist turnovers for those guys. That's what they do. They're fantastic. With that statistic, but their 17 offensive rebounds were probably the biggest stat of the game.
You mentioned the defense, especially in the second half. I think both Asa and RJ said they felt like they could have played a little harder. Did you think it was any effort, or what was the key for Missouri?
I don't think it was our best effort game, but I wouldn't question those two guys' effort until I watched the film. And there might be a possession or two. It's a 40-minute game. These are long games, and we've got guys that we've kind of morphed into playing a few guys heavier minutes than we were a month ago out of necessity, really, trying to win a game. And Silas left a lot of effort out there on the floor. RJ Godfrey did as well. I thought Blue played really hard. And as I told the guys in the locker room, Asa Newell, we're down double figures late, and he's playing like it's the Super Bowl, and that's who he is. We need more consistent effort like that from some of our older guys. He's a true freshman, and he showed a lot of character today, as he always does.
Mike, do you wonder what you and your staff can do to get more out of the team in the second half of games?
Wonder it a lot, consistently, every day. Talk about every day. We've tried a few different things, and we'll try something else. We'll have a long conversation tomorrow. We'll talk about it on Monday. That's all we talked about at halftime. At halftime, we watched. We've tried watching positive. We've tried watching negative. We've tried not watching. We've tried just talking. We've tried not talking. We've tried giving our guys a lot of time just on their own. We've tried giving them no time on their own. We've met in the middle. This is a mystery. I haven't coached a team that struggled this much early second half. I can't put my finger on it. I'm going to get more feedback from our guys that'll be the next, in the trial and error process. I just planted a seed with those guys, our young guys in the locker room. I want them to talk about it. But at halftime, it's not about, trust me, we ain't celebrating winning a half. We go in there and watch defensively the mistakes that we made. And the message is clear. We've got to be better in the second half defensively to beat a good SEC team. And, early second half, man, we weren't very good defensively.
Coach, last week you mentioned the transition defense against Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Tonight, Missouri got 19 fast break points.
Yeah.
What does that boil down to in giving up a lot of those easy buckets?
Maturity, consistency, mental toughness, connection, communication, and that's a two-way street, talking and listening. Lack of distraction. Their first basket of the game was off a make by us. And if you watch it, the ball went in the hoop and we didn't have 5 guys turning and sprinting like elite defenses do. And we've been elite defensively at times. It's just not a good start to the game. Whether we're talking, I don't know. When the ball goes through the hoop, we're going to continue to work on it. Sometimes we have a guy jamming the handle, or sometimes we don't. But either way, we have either 4 or 5, and we'll do it again Monday, we'll do it again Tuesday. Guys that turn and sprint to set our half-court defense. And with this matchup, that was our defensive key for this game. Trying to make these guys who are elite in transition and space, and they turn people over, and so they're in space a lot, and they've got guys that can shoot it and guys that can drive it, and then the more in space they are, the better they are in the offensive glass, and just didn't do a good enough job there. Now, that said, on makes overall, that wasn't the biggest deficiency for us. Their fast break points for the most part were us throwing them the ball and them going and dunk it. Our live ball turnovers have haunted us all year. We've gotten better with it. 15-9 is really good for us, but 5 or 6 of those 9 were loud that led to dunks on the other end. Hard to win that way.
When did you start seeing that trend of, I guess, struggling to get back at defense quickly, all that kind of thing, stuff you were talking about last week?
Well, early in the year, even mids, even when you're playing those games to get geared up, for the SEC season. And certain teams won't make you pay, and certain will. Everybody plays different, everyone in your schedule. But again, that wasn't the biggest factor. I didn't like that first possession, obviously, where we gave up a basket immediately after scoring our first basket. But again, the live ball turnover transition points for those guys, a little bit harder to control. And we've worked extensively on holding seals and catching the ball with 2 hands and pass faking and facing up, just basics for the past month, and made a jump. But again, those few possessions today we can't get back, and it's hard to rebound from, again, just open floor dunks off of turnovers.
Coach White, you mentioned the discussions in halftime.
Yep.
When you see that lead start to slip away and you have a timeout, what did you tell your players in that huddle?
Oh, there were a lot of huddles. That one specifically, I'm sure we talked about our defensive detail and energy. I can't remember how the first couple minutes went for us offensively. Now that you think about it a little bit, we actually had some high-low passes. We were in a pretty good rhythm early second half offensively, getting really deep touches and finishing. Thought Godfrey made some really good passes to Asa. We just could not establish ourselves defensively. Just couldn't do it. And then when we force a tough one and there's a long rebound, they beat us just dead honestly. I mean, they beat us to a lot of those 50-50 balls. And maybe a lot is kind to us. I would correct myself and say most. And they're deep and they're athletic and they're tough, but we needed to get more of those.
Coach, how important is the timing now to not have a midweek and you get a full week to recover before going on break?
Either way, I told our staff, whether you win this one or lose this one, still you're taking advantage of a week off, and you're really going to get after it Monday, Tuesday, do some inter-squad scrimmaging and really look at everything you're doing and just try to improve in every area. We got to take a day off tomorrow per the NCAA, and we'll play it by ear the rest of the week, but we're going to get after it on Monday. We're going to get better on Monday.
You mentioned improving, different things over the break, but is there something specific that you're looking at that you really want to attack more than anything for Auburn?
Live ball turnovers, especially on the road, especially at Auburn, in that environment. I'll tell you right now, we're a week out. It'd be the biggest key to the game. Defending our glass has got to be better, of course. Some of those they're just going to get, They got 17 today. If we did a great job, maybe they get 8 or 9, but some of it is just the way it bounces. And these guys take long ones, and they know when shots are going up too. They've got really good roll definition. When Caleb Grill comes off a screen, they know it's going up, and he's got a beautiful stroke, and they set good screens for him. And then when it goes up, they got 3 or 4 guys chasing it, and they just beat us to a lot of those balls.
Mike, do you think the grind of the season gets to your team this time of year? You guys beat St. John's in November.
Yep.
Beat Kentucky in January. That can't get this kind of W.
I think I think the grind has an impact on everybody at this level, period, you know. We've also had 2 or 3 that could have gone the other way with just one thing that could have been a little bit differently, and we wouldn't be talking about the grind. We'd be talking about how good of a position we're in, you know. This one was big. Our guys knew it was big. I think it was early second half when we couldn't collect any stops. I think there was an emotional toll. You could see it with body language. You could see the way our guys carried themselves. The connection reduced a little bit. You can see it offensively, defensively. It's a monster league, and Missouri came out early second half and won the game right there.
To follow up on that, you've got so many opportunities still ahead of you to get where you want.
Sure.
How do you keep the frustration from boiling over for the team, especially with a week between games?
Well, I'm not really big into that, honestly. I wish we'd get a little more frustrated. You know, frustration boiling over, sure, let's do it. Let's take it out on how we block out. Let's go get a rebound. Let's get a stop, you know. No, I wish we would have played more frustrated early second half. Really the entire second half defensively. So if, you know, if a tough week of practice can get some more out of some guys in terms of their intensity and our mental and physical toughness and our ability to fight through fatigue and get stops and get rebounds, then if you're frustrated, that's fine. That's fine. Just as long as you continue to be a good teammate and be connected with your teammates and continue to do what we're asking you to do. But we've got to play a little more frustrated.
Mark, for one more.
Played 40 minutes,
Yes.
and Coach Gates talked about noticing that and that factoring into his decision to trap.
Mm-hmm.
Going into your talks about what to do in the second half, do you worry about the grind on that position particularly and maybe your lack of options at that position?
Silas playing 40 had nothing to do, in my opinion, we all have different opinions, had nothing to do with the outcome of the game. If he didn't play 40, we might have lost by more than 13. I would argue that we would have. He was fantastic. He got blitzed a lot in the second half, and that forced us to throw it to our bigs in space. And we made some good decisions. Really, the loudest turnovers were by our guards. But I thought our bigs made some really good passes to each other when playing out of some of those blitzes or trapping of ball screens. We called them blitzes. Justin Abson made some good decisions. R.J. Godfrey made good decisions. We did a good job exploring some of those cross matches off a lot of their switches as well. Again, Asa early second half just made a killing at the rim. And again, we're talking about offense. That wasn't our issue. You know, it was one of our better offensive games. If you would have told me every SEC game we go 15-9 assist turnover, we'd have a few more wins. So that was pretty good, you know, and then shooting over 50%. We couldn't get a stop.
So you talk about those periods where maybe you can't get a stop. It's like 13-0 this game, and then obviously A&M was very long stretches of time.
Yeah.
How do you, is it mental where you guys just can't seem to stop anything, or is it just mistakes that you guys are making on the defense?
Well, we'll watch it closely on film, but again, with Silas, I didn't see watching it live, him make many defensive mistakes. He's fantastic defensively for us. He's continuing to be. He's turning into one of the best defensive guards in the league. I'll have to watch it closely, but I said it earlier. I didn't think our level of energy was quite the same. Our level of communication, early second half, just whether it was a ball screen or a back screen that wasn't quite called on time or wasn't quite heard, on time. A collection of those things. A guy not being in the right place at the right time, not loading to the basketball when there's a baseline drive. We fell for a couple shot fakes. This comes to mind as I'm rambling here, early second half, by guys that we were trying to late close out on, as opposed to this guy. This guy's not Caleb Grill. With Caleb Grill, obviously, we're sprinting at him, trying to do whatever we can to make him bounce the ball. But just that attention to detail failed us a couple times there early second half.